the Houston Rockets. They have the number 3 overall pick in the draft. They have a few interesting roster decisions here. I have 3 questions regarding Houston. Dallas was just one question because the Jalen Brunson thing is just so all-encompassing in terms of they could branch off so many different directions if they don't sign Jalen Brunson that it's hard to even really speculate. The Houston thing seems a little bit more simple. They have a number 3 overall pick. You've done some preliminary stuff into these top guys, right, Danny?
I have.
Who are you feeling like would work best for Houston? Who do you think they end up with at number 3?
So first of all, as a team like Houston, where they have pieces that they like, but especially because these are front court guys, they don't have a ton that's like figured out. Like I like Şengün, but I wouldn't say you choose your pick based on that. My philosophy in this is go best available, irrespective of positional needs and anything like that. The Rockets still have a lot to figure out. And I haven't fully put my board together, but Jabari Smith would be number 1 for me. I don't think he's going to make it there, but wonderful if you could get him. That'd be awesome. And then for them, I and for everybody else, preliminarily, as I'm positing everything, I actually have Banchero over Chet Holmgren. We can get into that if you want, but they're close. Like they're same tier. Like it's really it's kind of a preference in a complicated way that we'll probably talk about either here or maybe at some point on Real GM Radio. But being able to get one of those 3 guys should make Houston feel pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I will also note that John Gavoni said that there are sources that say, Houston has an interest in creating the most athletic backcourt in the NBA in Jaden Ivey and Jalen Green. I don't really like the Jaden Ivey fit with Houston. I think that is a lot of ball stopping, a lot of missed passing reads at the end of the day. Like that would just concern me at a very significant level. I love Jaden Ivey in a vacuum. I have him ahead of Paulo Banchero.
Ooh.
I would probably take Paulo for Houston, particularly though, because I think that Paulo's passing ability is just absolutely phenomenal. And I think they could really use that next to someone like Jalen Green. But I'll talk about that at a later date. I'm certain in terms of what I think the fit is there. Okay. The second question here for Houston is, what do you do with John Wall? Like, is this the point where we finally buy out John Wall and end this long, wild journey of him being on the Houston Rockets?
Yes, it is. And for Houston, the benefit of it being in the last year is it gets a lot more straightforward in terms of how do you balance the money. And it would be great for them kind of organizationally if John Wall leaves some money on the table, because then that could give him some wiggle room to make an imbalanced trade or something like that. But Houston, they're not in a real sticky financial situation when it comes to the tax. I'm sure Tillman Fertitta will want to save as much money as he can, but Wall, he is going to have plenty of incentive, particularly in the offseason, to get his way to somewhere he actually wants to be. And I don't know that there will be a starting spot necessarily, but there will be some opportunities for John Wall. And so you make that, conscious uncoupling and you have him be somewhere else. And Houston probably has a slight benefit financially from that. And you move forward.
Yeah. And look, we've seen Kemba Walker get the mid-level exception. I would imagine that John Wall would probably be in line for something along the lines of the mid-level exception, because I don't think any of the cap space teams are really going to be, all in on John Wall at this point in his career. But I do think that there are some potential contenders that have a mid-level exception style deal available that would probably be willing to sign John Wall. So then you look at how much would Houston get back? Maybe 10 million. Right? Something like that.
Something in that range.
Maybe 12, maybe 15, just, so that John can grease the wheels a little bit to get out of that situation. We'll see. I don't know. John Wall's made a lot of money. I don't know where his priorities lie necessarily. They certainly seem like he wants to get back on the court, but I mean, we'll see where Houston's priorities lie in terms of how much of a stickler they want to be for getting money back. The final question here for me is, what do you do with Christian Wood and Eric Gordon? Because look, I haven't hidden it in the past on this show. I'm not an enormous fan of Christian Wood as a basketball player. I'm sure he's a great guy. I just don't love the game, although he sometimes gets a little bit pouty, which is part of the reason that I don't love his game in general. And he'll give very poor defensive efforts when he's not engaged. I worry about what he looks like defensively in the playoffs. I worry about, his reliability defensively and creating a real scheme that works for a team. I do think there are teams that would be interested to take a flyer on him, though, at the end of the day.
I think you sell both to the highest bidder unless the bids just aren't strong enough. And
Yeah.
I would draw that line. It's hard to be hard and fast, but like with Eric Gordon, he had a really nice year overall,
Yeah.
but he's getting older and making about $20 million. That non-guaranteed second year now, so he's fully guaranteed for the coming year, and then the year after is not. That is potentially intriguing. Like there are teams that could be like, oh, we get some control over this situation,
Yeah.
and so, and also the other important factor here in this is a component of the Wood negotiations too, is that Houston, by virtue of being, let's say, as a preliminary number, about 18 million below the tax, even counting their draft picks, is that they could do an imbalance trade where they take back some bad money, and that could be bad money just for now, or that could be bad money moving forward. And why you do that as Houston is to get a better asset, whether that's a stronger
Yep.
draft pick or a young player that you're interested in. And they don't have the flexibility to the opportunity cost for them other than ownership's wallets is actually pretty minimal. And so I would be looking that way. And the other reason why you do it is because how much do those players affect your present and your future? Christian Wood, the concept of him, I've been a believer at different times, but we're reaching the point where the concept doesn't matter as much because he's a limited defender and it doesn't look like that's going to change. And then for Eric
Yeah.
Gordon, he helps you, but what does that help actually mean? And I don't think Houston's going to be ready to put the pedal to the metal this coming season. I think it might be a year away. And so just see what you can do for those guys. I think there will be plenty of interest because they can help out teams that are looking. And Christian Wood, I think we're probably one more failure away from teams not thinking they can be the one that they could be the special team that fixes him. So you want to be like kind of harkening back to Russell Westbrook, the former Rocket. You want to be the last team that makes that you want to be the second to last team that thinks they can fix him, not the last team, because if you're the last team,
Yeah.
you might end up holding the bag.
Yeah. And with Eric Gordon as well, I feel like that they're in a position where that's the case. Eric had a really great year this year. Eric also has a long history of injuries, unfortunately, which is part of the reason that the market was likely a bit muted on him this offseason. I felt like they should have, or this trade deadline, I felt like they should have moved him at the trade deadline just to confirm that they could get some sort of value for him. I think they ran a real risk by not doing that. The risk could pay off this offseason. We'll see. What do you think these guys are worth? Do you think that Houston will get back a first round pick for either player?
I think Wood's value is probably a little bit below a first, but you could get there easily taking back some negative money. And I'd say Gordon, yeah, late first is probably about right for him. I mean, guys that can shoot and capably defend and are at least wingy are so valuable in the league right now, and
Yep.
you can see them all throughout the league. And so, and not only are they valuable, there aren't that many that are available. And so that is, the $20 million price tag will make somebody queasy, but the lack of having another option will make them queasier. So I think
Yeah.
I think they could get a first there.
Yeah. No, I think I'm with you on Eric Gordon being able to get a first.